All right, it is Dan Kingerski here on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now and the National Hockey Now YouTube channel, and hello, Facebook peoples as well. This team is never boring, that is for sure. On Saturday, Coach Mike Sullivan announced that the Penguins would start rookie Joel Blomqvist in the net, not regular starter Tristan Jarry. We're 3 games into the season and intrigue abounds now. Let's get the facts out of the way. One, Sullivan admitted that Blomquist's performance on Thursday had a major impact on his decision for Saturday. Blomqvist was brilliant. He held the Detroit Red Wings at bay in the first period, while quite frankly, the Penguins as a team weren't very good. Blomqvist made significant saves, just big-time saves, keeping the Penguins in the game. Conversely, on Wednesday, the Penguins were dominating the New York Rangers, but didn't get a couple of saves by Tristan Jarry. Then all of a sudden they were down 3 and 4-0. So when Jarry turned it on in the second and third period of the first game of the season, the Penguins were already down several goals. It was way too much of a deficit to come back against the New York Rangers, and the Penguins packed it in. So Sullivan turns to the rookie on Hockey Night in Canada. Thanksgiving weekend in Canada goes to the rookie. Intrigue abounds on this one. So let's kind of try to figure all of this out. This is one of those weird videos where I don't yet know where it's going to end up, because this is a very fluid situation. Blomqvist was brilliant on Thursday. There's no question about it. This guy has been tabbed as the heir apparent for a little while now. You'll recall last April in his season-ending press conference when Kyle Dubas said, we have young guys. He named Blomqvist specifically, knocking on the door for the NHL. However, Blomqvist stumbled in the AHL playoffs, and the Penguins re-signed Alex Nedeljkovic in June, giving him a fairly decent payday for a backup goalie, $2.5 million. Well, Blomqvist comes into camp. He's pretty rough in the first preseason game. You think, okay, everything is working as it should. However, that's when Tristan Jarry did not have a very good game. Going back to last season, past is prologue sometimes. Even when Mike Sullivan says, new season, turn the page, new book, all of the cliches. Don't forget, last season, Sullivan benched Jarry for the final 15 and a half games of the regular season. Side note, Sidney Crosby called that momentous Penguins run at the end of the year in speaking with Tom Werner, Fenway Sports Group, the Penguins owner's chairman, on Wednesday. 5 of us got a chance to talk with Werner during the Penguins home opener. And he said to Sidney, next year, things are going to be better. And Sid said to Werner, we're going on a run. And the Penguins did. Okay, fast forward to this season. Jarry was benched in the final few weeks last season. What that tells us, because there were several jumping off points where Sullivan could have turned back to Jarry late last season, but he stuck with Nedeljkovic. That tells us the coach's confidence in Jarry was just a little bit shaken. Even if that much, Sullivan's confidence in Jarry was not what it needed to be. The fact that he's giving Jarry the hook this early in the season opens the door. It does not say, it is not proof that Sullivan and Jarry aren't on the same page, but it does open the door. That's where the intrigue comes, because now we're at a fork in the road. He's put Jarry on the bench for a second time in, let's call it 4 games, going back to last season, right? So if Blomqvist plays well against Toronto, hey, Saturday night, Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, on Hockey Night in Canada, there isn't a bigger game, and this kid's being dumped in on the road against a powerhouse of a team. If he plays well again, there's no way you can't play him against Montreal. And now the goalie controversy truly begins. Right now, we're at the front door of it. We haven't crossed that threshold, but we are there. Sullivan clearly trusted Nedeljkovic more than Jarry late last season. Now he's turning to Blomqvist. I know Tristan Jarry is kind of the scapegoat for Penguins fans. I've tried to keep an even keel, the positives and the negatives. Of course, when I do that, people think I'm sticking up for the player. I'm just trying to give you both sides. Last season, for 2/3 of the year, you get tweets like this, by the way. For 2/3 of the year, Jarry was stealing points for a terrible Penguins team. Ironic that when the Penguins flipped the switch and were a better team, Jarry was not part of that. So there's a lot of this in the fan base. I get it. How to get rid of Jarry? Get rid of Jarry now. Let's take the more cautious, more reasonable, more realistic approach. We're at the start of the goalie controversy. It could go away in 30 seconds if Toronto lights up Blomqvist. You won't be screaming, put him in, put him in. And he'll go back to the American Hockey League when Alex Nedeljkovic is healthy, and we can chuckle about this sort of thing. But if he plays really well, now, where do you go? Tristan Jarry probably does not have much, if any, trade value. But he's not Jack Campbell or Cal Peterson, guys who were stashed in the American Hockey League with several years of several million-dollar contracts. Jarry isn't quite there. Let's not lump him in with the failed goalies who are trying to work their way back to the NHL. Jarry isn't there. He's had some struggles. Maybe he's just an average NHL goalie. But in this day and age, look at what Ottawa had to suffer through last year with Jonas Korpisalo. If they had a goalie last year, Ottawa would have been right there in the playoff chase instead of kind of going through a dispirited time at midseason. Those are the things that Kyle Dubas looked at when they signed Tristan Jarry. He wouldn't have been first on anybody's list if you're out goalie shopping, but he was the finest available last July 1st, 2023. He looked at the market. The Penguins looked at the market and realized they were still the best fit for each other. And Jarry, as I said, 2/3 of last season was a very good goalie. The last third is the problem. So what has to happen, or I suppose nothing has to happen, but what Jarry needs to have happen is he needs to regain the full faith and trust of Mike Sullivan and perhaps a bit of the locker room. Joel Blomqvist needs to stop pucks. And if he does, he will be in the conversation. They might need to send him down for a little while they sort out the NHL roster situation, but he is asserting himself. Mike Sullivan said his performance Thursday had a major impact on who started tonight. From here, it seems to be game on. Sullivan has allowed both Nedeljkovic and Blomqvist to supplant Jarry, which tells you that this is a wide open competition. From here on, it's whoever's playing, whoever can win games, Sullivan will put in the net. So don't jump to conclusions and start trying to trade Tristan Jarry with a second-round pick just to get rid of him. That probably doesn't happen. Kyle Dubas is not giving up assets to get rid of Tristan Jarry. But after that, I would suspect just about everything else is on the table. All right, do me a favor, like, subscribe, share this, send it around, and leave me your comments. I know where you stand. I know where a lot of you stand. You would be happy to see Jarry on the first train to Clarksville. Not even just the last one, the first one, on the way out of town. I don't think you're going to get your wish, at least for some time. So from Toronto, I'm Dan Kingerski, and I appreciate it. We'll do a few more of these over the next coming days because I have a feeling that this is just getting started. Have fun.